We're going to go through page 7 of the the Ratio 2H pack, and this page is all about metric conversions, so converting between metric units. Okay, question 1, convert the following units to centimetres. So we need to know how to get between millimetres and centimetres, or metres and centimetres. So these are all units of length, and millimetres are the smallest units that we have here. Okay, and we're going to convert to centimetres, and then the next biggest unit after centimetres would be metres, and then you may know that after that we're dealing with kilometres. Okay, so you need to know how many of each make up the next thing, and it's worth knowing what these little prefixes actually stand for. So metres is what's called the standard unit in this series of lengths. Okay, so that's what when you're doing calculations a bit later on, A level, that sort of thing, you will always use metres, and then everything else is based off that. Kilo means 1,000, and this comes up with other units as well, like kilograms and things like that. So that means 1,000. Centi doesn't mean 100, it means hundredth, because 1 centimetre is 1/100th of 1 metre. Okay, and milli means thousandth, because each millimetre is 1,000th of a metre. And there are more than that, but that's what we'll start with for now. So to turn centimetres into metres, well, 100 of them would go into 1 metre, so 100 centimetres is equal to 1 metre. So I would start with a fact that I know to figure out what I'd have to do. So to turn 100 into 1, I would have to divide by 100. And I'd have to multiply by 100 to do the opposite. 1,000 millimetres would be equal to those, okay, because a millimetre is 1,000th of a metre, so I'd have to divide by 1,000 to get to metres. Okay, however, it can get very messy if we're sort of comparing everything to metres, so I'm just going to turn everything into the next thing. So there are 10 millimetres in 1 centimetre. Okay, it makes sense that when you've got a smaller unit you need more of them. So to turn millimetres into centimetres, to get from 10 to 1, I would divide by 10. So to turn centimetres into millimetres, I would times by 10. And then finally, you may know that there are 1,000, there's no way I'm going to fit 1,000 in here. 1,000 metres in 1 kilometre. I could probably squeeze it in. If there are 1,000 metres in 1 kilometre, that means we would divide by 1,000 to turn metres into kilometres, and therefore times by 1,000 to do the opposite. Okay, so with units of length, you may be able to remember this 10, 100, 1,000 pattern. Okay, so just get rid of those, because I want to make it general. I don't just want to make it about 1 kilometre. I just want to make it about the units themselves. So 40 millimetres, to turn that into centimetres, millimetres into centimetres, I'm dividing by 10, so that is 4 centimetres. 78 millimetres, I'm doing the same thing, I'm dividing by 10, so that would be 7.8 centimetres. 2 metres, I am timesing by 100 to turn that into centimetres, so that's 200 centimetres. And finally 3.72 metres, exactly the same as this one, I'm timesing by 100, so that's 372 centimetres. Okay, having an appreciation for how big a centimetre actually looks like and how big a metre actually looks like can really help you with these questions as well. Okay, it can stop you writing something that just doesn't make any sense at all. Right, number 2, they've started to sort of creatively put in questions on scale and metric units into exams that look a bit like this. This is an actual exam question, so it's important we know how to do. The picture shows a bus driver standing next to his bus. The bus driver and the bus are drawn to the same scale. Work out an estimate for the height of the bus. Now for this we kind of need to know how tall the average person is, okay, and if we're dealing with an adult, which I assume this person is because they drive a bus, then let's just assume they're the average height. Now they will let you have a range of things for this, I think ranging from 1.5 meters to 2 meters, but let me tell you, if you're 2 meters tall, you're very tall. So the average height of certainly men is about 1.8 meters. Okay, so we'll go with that. And it's worth getting an idea of scale as well. You'll all have a better idea of scale nowadays, of how far 2 meters is, having to sort of socially distance and things. But your typical door is about 2 meters tall. So here's how we're going to do this. Let's come out of that for a sec. Right, what we would do on a question like this is put our ruler up against the driver, measure how tall he is. So he's about 1 centimetre, maybe 1.1, if I can move the ruler properly. Yeah, about 1 centimetre or so. And we would write that down. So that's equal to 1 centimetre in our scale. And then we would measure the height of the bus. So that's 2.5. And we would use whatever we've done here and do the same to the length in meters. Okay, so here we've timesed by 2.5. So I would times 1.8 by 2.5 as well. I'm going to use a calculator for that. And that gives 4.5 meters. So that's our estimate. It is an estimate because it wasn't exactly 1 centimetre tall, and also we're estimating how tall he was or she was as well. So, but that's how you do those. Just bear in mind, for certain questions you may have to then, you may be given the height of something, and then you might have to turn the ruler to measure the length of something else. Okay. Number 3. Convert centimetres to millimetres, you multiply by 10. Okay, we knew that already. To convert square centimetres to square millimetres, does multiplying by 10 still work? So use the scale drawing. Well, if this is to scale, do 10 of these go inside this? Well, it certainly doesn't look like it. It certainly looks like more than that. In fact, if 1 square centimetre is a square with sides of 1 centimetre, that means that those sides will also be 10 millimetres, which means I could fit 10 of those squares along the top row. Okay, now I won't try and draw 10 accurately, but you see what I mean? You will get that sort of thing. Actually, that's not bad. Okay, so there's 10 just along one row, so no, there's not 10 in the whole thing. There's also going to be 10 rows of that. Okay, so what we're actually going to have is 10 times 10, 10 rows of 10, so 100. We're going to have 100 square millimetres in 1 square centimetre. Okay. So to convert from square centimetres to square millimetres, we're timesing by 100. To do the opposite, we are dividing by 100. Okay, number 4. Now, sorry, before I move on too quickly from that, that's linked to what we were doing on the previous pages with scale factors and similar shapes and area and things. So if you know some linear scale factors, in other words, some length scale factors, which is what we just did at the top here, okay, that's great. But it doesn't necessarily help you loads when it comes to area or even volume. Okay, so there is a shortcut way, other than just kind of having an appreciation for how big these things are or drawing a diagram like this. If you know the linear scale factor, so for length, we call that the linear scale factor, so that's equal to 10 millimetres. So we're timesing by 10. Then for area, we are actually timesing by the scale factor squared, the linear scale factor squared. So 1 square centimetre we've just shown is equal to 100 square millimetres, and square millimetres and square centimetres is the right way to say it, by the way. Okay, we are timesing by this 10 squared though. Okay, and the easy way to sort of remember that is the area of squared units, so times by the linear scale factor squared. And then you guessed it, for volume we are timesing by the scale factor cubed. So 1 cubic centimetre, we times that by 10 cubed, that's 1,000, so that would be equal to 1,000 cubic millimetres. Okay, and we'll cover that in more detail a bit later on. Right, so complete the following 4 square centimetres. Well, to square millimetres we're timesing by 100, so that would be 400 square millimetres. 3,500 back to centimetres, we're dividing by 100, so 35. And square centimetres, square millimetres again, timesing by 100, so that will be 67. Okay, here we've got a rectangle, and we've been given the length in centimetres and metres, so we're going to find the conversion between centimetres and metres. Find the area of the rectangle in square metres. So 4 times 2 will be 8 square metres. Find the area of the rectangle in square centimetres, where we could just, rather than having to be able to convert between them, we could just use this now. Okay, so this can often save a bit of time if you just write down any lengths in their other units first. So 200 times 400, well, the 2 times the 4 will give us 8. Okay, but then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros to add on. So 80,000 square centimetres. Okay, so like above, it's not just metres to centimetres timesing by 100, as you may know. It was timesing by 100 squared, which is 10,000. So 1 square metre is 10,000 square centimetres. So we're timesing by 10,000. Dividing by 10,000 to go the other way. Okay, so 9 square metres is 90,000 square centimetres. 25,000 square centimetres, if we divide by 10,000, that would be 2.5 square metres. And 0.03 square metres, if we times by 10,000, this 3 is going to move 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll be in the hundreds column, so that's 300 square centimetres. And the final question, oh no, sorry, number 7. 6.5 square metres to square millimetres, right, well, 6.5 square metres. Let's turn it into square centimetres first, so I know we divide by, sorry, we times by 10,000, so that would be 65,000 square centimetres. And then from above, square centimetres to square millimetres, we're timesing by 100. So another couple of zeros on that. So we'll have 5 zeros. So that's 6.5 million square millimetres. And finally, how many square metres are there in 5 square kilometres? So in 1 square kilometre, that is a square with side lengths of 1,000 metres. Okay, same here. So 1 square kilometre is equal to 1,000 times 1,000. Pen's getting a bit laggy. So that would be 1 million square meters. So in 5 square kilometers, we've got 5 million square meters. Okay, thanks for watching.